that just happen? When it comes to these steering joints, they can get pretty pricey. As Willie Nelson would say, he spends a lot of money on joints. But anyway, we're not going to do what Willie would do. We're going to try to use as few of these as possible to get it done. But you never know. By the time we get through with this, we may be wanting to sit with Willie for a while. All right, so how to build a hot rod series. The 036 Pontiac sedan. Lots of custom tricks on this car. Now we're fixing to tackle the steering. Gonna do that now before we pull the body off so I can completely build the chassis. Now this is gonna be a custom chassis from one end to the other, but utilizing the original frame of the car because it's very solid. And hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. But we're gonna box it, clean it up, and make it look very, very high end. First, we need to see what's in the way for us to make our steering. Now I've cut this tubing down. This is not what I'm going to use for steering. It's very, very thin. Used to be a piece of roadside garbage, but it allows me the same diameter as my steering rod to figure out my angles and where I want to go. So I've got a U-joint on the steering column and one on the rack. And then I've got one to play with in the center. So now we just need to see which is the direct location that we can put this steering. So let's get in here and do this. Now this happens to be the 61 Impala, but you can see we built a steering column, came through the firewall, one joint, stainless steel, 3/4 double D, all the way down to the steering box with one more joint. Now I haven't finished mounting the steering box yet, or actually I had until this power steering pump came into play that we're working on. So you can see that front runner system being installed in one of the videos on the Impala, and you can see the trouble that we ran into with that. So I set that to the side for a minute. We'll get back on that. But the steering is done, and that's simple, clean, and only use 2 joints. So right off the bat, I noticed that if I'm going to try to get the steering to come up this way, the U-joint's going to hit the bottom of the alternator, which is no good. And it's going to put it way, way up too high and all in the way. So the reason that it's aimed up like this is because of the motor mount. These motor mounts are not done well. They weren't thought out. They're too cumbersome. Too many things going on right here. Yes, it works, but it's not my style and I need to correct it. So let's go ahead and use this while it's holding the motor up. Let's mock up a new motor mount, and then we're gonna have to block the motor up and cut this motor mount out and put in our new motor mount. Let's see if we can get some of that done today. So I know many of you guys love it when I drag out my cardboard. Very nice, very thick cardboard. And we are going to try to make a template out of this cardboard and try to get close on this motor mount. So let's start with something. All right, so here's what I've come up with. I've got a little notch cut out. Let's see how close we are, and we're nowhere near close. So let's add a little bit to this and cut it again. All right, so after a couple of tries, I've managed to cut this wedge out. Speaking of wedge, let's see if we can't get this in here. And what we're gonna do is use a similar mount like what's already on here, but we're gonna redo it like this. So let's cut a second piece out to go on the other side and see if we can't get rid of this cushion, and look at all the room that we're gonna have now. This is about where the U-joint will be, and our rod is gonna go straight through where the old motor mount sits now. Let's see what we can get done. We've got one in, we've made a duplicate. for the other side. And now we need to make a top. So let's get some paper. We'll trace that out, make a top, and then we'll come back and make it out of cardboard. Now, it doesn't have to be angled like that, but being angled or flared out, similar to this right here, just gives it that custom look and that off-the-shelf, not off-the-shelf look. And I want to make sure if we do this, we've got access to these bolts to get it bolted in to the motor. All right, so there we go. I need to make that out of a piece of that thick cardboard, or I don't really have to. That's a good pattern. So now it's time to find a piece of steel that's suitable, and we'll get that portion right there made, and then we'll have to get the bottom of it made once that motor mount's cut out. All right, so just giving it a quick test run. This is where we want that shaft to come through, which is right in the way, the original motor mount that someone put in this car. This will allow us to get our steering straight to a U-joint right there, which will take it straight to the steering column and avoid hitting the header. We can also try to go under the exhaust, but I believe it's going to put too much of an angle on the steering to try to get it to go under the exhaust right here. So we're just going to go right here around the exhaust, utilize the frame to have our bearing or our heim end that's going to allow the steering to be stable, and I think we're going to be fine. But just to give you a quick tour of this car, just a quick tour of some of the stuff that I've done to this car. No, nothing's finished, of course, but steel dash that is part of the original dash now. Got rid of the clock in the glove box, got the vintage air controls installed, got the hidden wipers installed under the dash. The column is installed and is floating, meaning that you can't see any brackets or anything holding it in. Pedals are installed. I got all new steel floor, hidden hinges, and we've replaced all of the original wood in the car with steel. So it still has a long ways to go, but it's truly going to be a neat car. Most important thing to do is to get this body off. And before I get the body off, I didn't want it to come back and do all of the steering later because I wanted it to be all finished. So that's what we're doing. And one thing gets in the way of another thing that gets in the way of another thing. And I'm excited about getting this LS out of here and finishing the firewall, doing the underside of the body, and building this chassis. Just one thing in the way is making these motor mounts. Now I've got the passenger side made, and it was the same exact pattern as the other side. So everything's going to be centered and come out really nice. Got the compressor to contend with on this side, but at least I don't have any steering rods. I hate cliffhangers just like the next guy. But I believe that this episode is stretched out pretty good, and I want to make sure that I don't leave out any details. So I may end it right here until the next episode, which is coming up very soon. We'll finish this motor mount for both sides and get this motor sitting in place with its new motor mounts, and we'll finish up that steering. So if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps us grow. Hit the bell and it'll notify you as soon as I drop a new episode. You don't want to miss anything. We have a lot of fun around here. So, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for liking, and thanks for subscribing. Now get out in the garage and go build something. See you guys in the next episode.